Okay, so what we've done up to this point is we imported our video, we designed our interface, and then put it all into one composition. In that new composition that we created, we added this one object that's moving down, right, onto the screen. And then back in our main composition, we set up an animation so that first the main menu slides in, and then it's lined up so that this comes down. And then in our test case, what I did was I had a bar show up here, and every time I swipe, we move the bar down. I'll show you that. It's not important that we understand this step, but the thing that is interesting about it is this shows how compositions can be nested in an easy way. So if I go back to my main menu, we know when this orange bar comes down, it's going to have text on it and some other things with it. I'm actually going to do something similar to what we've already done. This orange bar shouldn't just be that one item that's moving. It should be all of the components that make up that particular menu there. So I will right click on it, choose pre-composition, and I'll call this one room service, and hit OK. And they're the same thing. Now instead of just the layer with the graphic on it, we have a composition there. If I double click on the composition to open it up, here it is. And then anything I design in here is going to show up in here, which means it will conversely show up in here. I do want you to notice one thing. My timelines are linked. So here I'm at 2 seconds, 6 frames. If I move to this one, I'm also at 206. If I'm at this one, I'm at 206. So it's an easy way for lining up our content to make sure everything works together. So if I wanted to, I would come here and create a list of things. Let me align this to the left. And we'll say that our menu had option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4, and option 5. I'll move it down into a better position. That's too close to the top. I'll change its color to be black, not white, and we'll make it a little larger. Probably have to move its position a little more, but that's okay. So now if I go back and look at my main window, I see that there. So there are my options. And again, if I preview this, there, that window appears in those items. Then the last thing is you notice in the sample, every time the finger swipes, a bar moved down to the next item. And that's done simply by starting off the bar at the first item. So if I come back here, and I'll create my first bar, which is composition, layer, new solid. We want this to be the width of this thing, which is 100, looks like 170, but the height of this thing we're going to create is a little larger than our text. So let's say 26 pixels tall, and we'll make it white. Let me get that. And then it should be under our text. And now let me move it into position. So there's the first option. And when the menu shows up, looks like that. Move forward. So notice that the bar moves in with the other items. Think about these layers here as well. We've got the background image, and then we've got this composition on top of it. Inside of that composition, we've got this item. We have the room service menu that's on the very bottom. And then on top of that is this bar, and then all the text. And then we have things deep down into the room service where all these layers are playing together in order to create this illusion of a series of menus. So we need to know when the finger swipe next happens. So here, if I play this, There's the tap, then there's a finger swipe right there. So this finger swipe should move the white bar from option 1 to option 2. So where's the finger tap? Looks like the finger touches the glass there. I go to room service and I add a keyframe for position, keyframe. And then, how long does it take for that swipe? So I move forward in time a little bit. Let's say to about there. Back to room service. Move this bar down to position 2. You can use the arrow keys to move these as well and figure out the one that works best for you. So there's my 2 new keyframes. If I go back to the main menu and rewind, this is what we get. So I could go through and add the other swipes in there, but this sort of gives you an idea of how to bring all these elements together. I'm going to add one small thing to this. Instead of this thing sliding in, what if it's found its position based on where the finger clicked on the screen? So we know that the finger tap is right here. And let's say that this piece here, instead of sliding in from the right, it actually comes from that particular point. So I could take this, oops, undo that. I want to go to this particular keyframe here. So I'll go back a keyframe. Remember, these arrows here allow us to step through our keyframes. So we're going to go to the first keyframe. Instead of it being in this position, we'll have it be right where the finger is. But then the other side is, instead of just this size, let's also have it, or instead of this just position, let's also have it the size as well. So I'll hit Shift S. Now my size will pop up. Excuse me. Now the size will pop up. And I'm going to add keyframes here and a keyframe here. So keyframe in both positions. And we want this to start in this position, but I want it to start really small. So I'll take this actually all the way down to 0. Now let's see what that looks like. I hit play, tap, and the menu loads. So go back, play it again, tap, and the menu pops up from that position and fills the screen. All right, I think that's enough of this process for doing this. The next thing I want to do is show you how to export